host, Daniel Hill, and this is the weekend edition of the Instagram Stories. There's a lot of social media news to talk about. Adam Mosseri is no longer the head of Threads. He's just going to be the head of Instagram. There is a new head of Threads. I will tell you about it. Additionally, Threads adds the ability to send images via the Threads DM box, which is new. Also, Instagram is testing new Carousel insights that show the like count for the specific photo or video that was on screen when someone liked the post. Social media expert Lindsay Gamble is going to stop by to explain that news and give us his take. And after that, Ashley Coffey and I will dig into this week's biggest AI news stories. All of that and more on today's episode, but first, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back. Let's start with the Threads news. Instagram head Adam Mosseri has overseen Threads since it first launched 2 years ago. However, now Meta executive Connor Hayes has been named as the head of Threads. This is a significant milestone because it's recognizing that the app is now too big for Adam Mosseri to be head over Threads and Instagram at the same time. Adam Mosseri wrote in a staff memo that was obtained by the journal Axios. In this staff memo, it said, quote, "Given Threads' maturity, we think we need a dedicated app lead who can focus all of their time on helping Threads move forward," end quote. Adam Mosseri said that Connor Hayes will begin his role as head of Threads by mid-September and will report to him directly. Okay, so who is Connor Hayes exactly? He was part of the original team that built the first version of Threads when it launched in 2023. Then he served as Meta's vice president of product for generative AI. He first joined Facebook in 2011 and has served in various product roles across Meta and Instagram over the past 14 years. I will, of course, keep you updated. You'll hear content from Connor as he moves into this new role. Hopefully he does video and audio content that I can share on this show. Sticking with the Threads news, the Threads team posted on Threads that you can now DM photos on Threads. In your inbox, you can open an existing conversation or start a new one, tap the plus icon at the bottom left. You can send a still image from your camera roll, or you can take a new photo by tapping camera and then use photo to send it. Just as a reminder, you can only DM someone if they follow you on Threads or if you follow one another on Instagram. And as a reminder, DMs on Threads are not available on the web. They are only available on the mobile app. So if you start a conversation, expect that you have to continue that conversation on the mobile app. I will link to this post from the Threads team so you can check it out for yourself. Let's move on to the Instagram news. Instagram is now testing Carousel insights. So when you post a carousel and someone likes a specific photo or video within that carousel, you can tell which picture was double tapped on or which picture they clicked the heart when they were viewing. This is a really interesting change. I think it's long overdue, and it's great to have these insights. To explain more about it, here's social media expert Lindsay Gamble.
Hey, how's it going? Lindsay Gamble here. You may have heard me as a guest on Instagram Stories before. If not, I'm a creator economy advisor and creator. I write a weekly newsletter that curates the latest and greatest updates around the creator economy. I uncover the trends you need to know. And most importantly, I provide those actionable insights, whether you're a creator or marketer. In the most recent edition of my newsletter, which you can find by just searching Lindsay Gamble's newsletter, I did a deep dive into a new feature that Instagram is testing that I'm really excited about. Some users have spotted a new section in the insights for their carousel posts called When People Liked Your Carousel. This shows a like count for the specific photo or video that was on screen when that post was liked. And I think this is a big update because it gives creators, brands, really anyone more granular performance data when it comes to carousel posts. Carousels are potentially one of the most powerful formats on Instagram when it comes to storytelling, how-to, educational content, and more. And because carousels rely heavily on sequencing, pacing, and structure, being able to pinpoint what frames drives the most engagements gives a lot more opportunity to be really strategic with the carousel content you're putting out. Here's a few different ways. First of all, if you're seeing a lot of the likes on your carousel posts happening on the first frame, that's a signal that your hook is working. That means that whatever image or video you have as your opener is grabbing attention. You can also understand if retention is high. If likes on the later frames are happening more often, that means people are sticking around and they're engaging throughout that carousel. They enjoy that content flow and that storytelling. And it might be a signal to lean into carousels that have more frames. Instagram hasn't officially announced this feature yet, but let's hope it rolls out more widely. I also would love to see them build up more functionality around carousels, whether it's new analytics like actually letting you see the number of views on each of the frames in the carousel, or just more flexibility when it comes to creativity around carousels, like being able to write a specific caption for the frames within the carousels. In the meantime, sign up for the newsletter. I'll definitely be tracking this update. Now back to you, Daniel.
Thanks, Lindsay. Lindsay has been a longtime friend of the show, so it's great getting a different voice on the show to talk about a new Instagram feature and give some strategy about how you might use it. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, Ashley Coffey and I are going to dive into this week's AI news. Stick around. Welcome back. Here's Ashley Coffey and I diving into this week's AI news.
Our top story this week, I'm going to start out with OpenAI, and this has been a big one. OpenAI's new ChatGPT agent can control an entire virtual computer and do tasks for you. So this is big. If you've been following OpenAI for a while, you know that different models of OpenAI come out quite often. This is something really interesting because in the past, they released a model called Operator and a model called Deep Research. Now, Deep Research was meant to do this like deep, exhaustive research, read articles entirely, really look at that subjective view of content. Now, the operator view was meant to be task-oriented. So the OpenAI team realized, why don't we just put these together and create an agent? So don't get too caught up in the how here. I'm going to describe a little bit of some of the benefits here to help people understand why this is so important. Now, to develop the new tool, like I mentioned, they combined the operator and the deep research portion. And in the demonstration that they showed on their YouTube channel, they shared a prompt task that was based on help us plan a trip to a wedding, help us make sure that we buy the right gift. Here's our budget for travel and hotel. Only look at bookings.com, giving it parameters. Basically, if you had an assistant to say, hey, I need you to plan this trip for me and get some things done that I don't necessarily want to get done myself, go forth and conquer. So the purpose of this agent, it creates a virtual machine. Now, if you're not in the IT world and you don't know what a virtual machine is, it's essentially an environment that is completely virtualized, and it has components that allow some computation to happen within that virtual environment. So with this task being given to ChatGPT's agent, it creates a virtual environment that has a visual browser, a command line, and other options that enhance the capabilities for it to actually get work done. Now, what the difference is here is that some of these tasks can take 10, 20, maybe 30 minutes, depending on the complexity. And this is really a game changer because what I'm seeing is that based on what is being put out there by OpenAI and the feedback that's coming in, as well as the data usage from people, they're seeing the connectivity of what people actually want. And people actually want AI to help us with the menial tasks that we hate, the tasks that we just don't want to do, the tasks that take up so much time. And this is key. So this will be rolling out this week, actually. I checked this morning. I do not have it quite yet, but I highly recommend watching the OpenAI YouTube video to get a deep understanding of the capabilities of that. As soon as it's open, I am running as fast as I can to it to develop some agents for myself. I've been only able to develop my own custom agents as far as I can, but with this new capability, I'm really excited for what that's going to mean for people like us, Daniel, that are content creators that wear a lot of hats and do a lot of things. So what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm excited to see where this is going. I looked at this article and it sounds like the tasks are taking a long time and aren't always 100% successful, but also this is so new. This is, like you mentioned, rolling out in the very near future. So as this improves and iterates on these tools, I think there's going to be a lot of tasks that we can offload that we don't want to spend time on. Like you said, I can probably think of 50 tasks that I have to do as I go throughout my day, clicking over here, dragging files over there, making a reservation here, to be able to either speak those or just type those in, whatever it is, and have them done by someone that doesn't cost me X amount per hour. I love that. Really looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Yes. And one thing I forgot to mention is that it's highly tailored to output of spreadsheets and PowerPoints. So that signals to me that they're seeing such a huge use of people that are working in their jobs trying to get output. That's data visualization. So love to see this moving in the right direction. I think this will probably help us save a lot of time in the future.
Yes. I'm more excited for the trips part. I think if I could say, find me a good travel destination where the weather's going to be 80 degrees and I can fly there directly from Newark Airport and there's no layovers and I can stay for 7 days and it's under in my budget, whatever. I love to have somebody to make it so the GPT can do that for me.
Well, you think about this too, it's also kind of a life hack because some people don't know about the trackers that will adjust pricing on some airlines' website because it sees you coming and it's trying to get you to purchase that ticket and showing that it's going up and down. So, with the agent going to find that piece of information, I think that alleviates those potential price increase trackers. So, we will be
Yes.
getting the best possible price that's out there, which I'm all for in this economy.
Yes. Or you tell the AI, monitor the price, buy it when it's cheapest. Or if you've already bought it, keep monitoring the price. And if it becomes cheaper, contact the airline, tell them you want the refund, the whole thing. That's way too much work. But if the AI can do it, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, same, same.
We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be talking about Meta refusing to sign the EU's AI Code of Practice, and OpenAI are now using Google systems to power ChatGPT. Stick around. Welcome back. We are continuing with our stories, and the next one has to do with Meta refusing to sign the EU's AI Code of Practice. So, the European Union has put in a code of practice for its AI Act, which is basically to control how AI is used, what information AI has access to, and making sure that the corporations actively working in the EU have some guidelines and guardrails in place. Now, it's a voluntary framework, but the goal here is to help companies implement processes and systems to comply with this legislation for AI. And they have to update their documentation about the AI tools and services that these companies offer. It also bans developers from training AI on pirated content and says that companies must comply with content owners' requests not to use their work in AI datasets, which is something we've talked about before.
Mhm.
Meta objected to this, and Joel Kaplan, who is Meta's chief global affairs officer, made a post on LinkedIn about it. It's a little bit long, but I'm going to read it. He said,
Yeah.
quote, Europe is heading down the wrong path on AI. We have carefully reviewed the European Commission's code of practice for general purpose models, and Meta won't be signing it. This code introduces a number of legal uncertainties for model developers, as well as measures which go far beyond the scope of the AI Act. Businesses and policymakers across Europe have spoken out against this regulation. Earlier this month, 44 of Europe's largest businesses, including Bosch, Siemens, SAP, Airbus, and BNP, signed a letter calling for the Commission to stop the clock in its implementation. We share concerns raised by these businesses that overreach will throttle the development and deployment of frontier AI models in Europe and stunt European companies looking to build businesses on top of them. So clearly, Meta does not like what the EU is doing here in putting these guardrails in place. Ashley, I'd love to know, what do you think?
That's what I think. No surprise that Meta didn't want to sign this. I'll always tell people when they ask me about the current state of policy and legislation of AI in the US is that we have very little, if anything. And the EU has probably the most robust, mature framework of protecting citizens and protecting children specifically. And this right here, to me, is just a big red flag of profit over humanity. Like, I get what they're saying. I get what Meta is saying, that this is going to hinder progress, it's going to hinder yada yada. Of course, it's going to hinder progress. It's going to hinder their profit. But at the same
Yes.
time, I do believe the EU is aware of what's happening and is trying to slam the brakes on the impact of AI on the society as a whole when it comes to creative output, intellectual property, profit. Like, just that's what I think. That's what the goal of this is. And it's being misinterpreted by businesses because it's affecting their profit. But we need more of a Socratic approach and a productive approach to these types of conversations versus a black or white, all or none, like Meta, I think, is doing here. Because I'm sure Meta maybe had the opportunity to say, we can't do this, but here's what we can do. But instead, I'm seeing a complete black and white separation, which to me is just profit over humanity.
Yes, I agree. I think there were three main components of what the EU was saying, which is that documentation about these companies' AI tools needs to be available. They can't train the AI on pirated content, and they have to comply with people's requests not to use their work in what these companies are building in AI. Those are all reasonable things. So if Meta doesn't want to do them, like you said, profits are at the core of that. But Europe has been so good about providing data protection laws for its citizens to protect them over the companies. I think that is something that is very badly needed looking at, at the whole world, but particularly the way companies approach it. Europe has really done a lot to protect its citizens, and we've seen the good outcomes that have come as a result of Europe being so invested in its citizens that way. So I think that is really something that Meta needs to adapt to, and hopefully here we have those same level of data privacy, data protection for us as United States citizens as well.
Yeah, and the key word in there that you mentioned on the top of the story was voluntary. Companies don't want to voluntarily share their intellectual property of how they're building their AI data sets. They don't want to not be told to not train off of uncopyrighted material because that's extra data for them to make their language learning models smarter. And of course, they don't want to comply with content creators being like, you can't use my stuff because they make money off of that. So there's obvious reasons behind why they're saying no to this. That's a little frustrating as an end user.
I agree. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. First, I realized that I was having some audio issues recording that, so I need to work on that. Apologies for the bad audio. If you want to hear the rest of the episode, look for the podcast AI News You Need to Know About wherever you get podcasts, or you can get there directly from the link in the show notes. As always, thank you for listening, and be sure to come back next time for more social media news, strategy, and other things that you need to know.
Let me tell you a couple things that you should know about me. A product manager but do not have a bachelor's degree, but actually that's factually a fraction of me. Another fraction's posting content irregular and irrationally. Still probably won't get a job at the Gram. They forgot, they don't know, or don't care who I am. That's why you never see me at the parties and events. My lack of followers must make me irrelevant. Don't have a course, a book to sell to make a bag of grand. Not a social media marketer, don't represent any brands. Plain to see, don't have an agency, but I got a lot of spam. Just putting in my work without the glitz and glam. Won't catch me eating fish unless it's shrimp or clam. No six pack, no risk that there's a gym card in my hand. Don't have a full-time job, but I got a lot of plans. Stay plotting, dropping knowledge on TikTok and Instagram.